Okay, the road leads you downhill to the edge of a lake. The clearing around the dwelling is quiet, with no crickets, flies, or even toads. The grass is not even knee-high. There are no signs of a wharf or boats. The wall isn't coated and has already been bitten by winds and rains. Look for an entrance. Oh. Right next to the gate, a gargoyle or stone look-alike kneels on a slab. It's dark purple, almost black, with yellow, pointy teeth. Though its half-open mouth has no tongue, the creature doesn't even move an inch. The eyes have been replaced by crystals, red, like currant juice. I will knock on the gate. Finding no knocker, you use your fist. There's no response. Anyone home? Your voice is welcomed by the screeching of dozens of avian throats. They take off from behind the wall, heading toward the lake. After a few breaths, the eyes of the gargoyle grow brighter. What's with all the ape shouts, you lost? The words are coming from the monster's mouth, though it remains still. Stand in front of me, I want to see a mug. The drawling voice belongs to a woman, but is lined with unnatural creaking. I step closer. The eyes don't rotate nor blink. So, who are ye? I'm Biddle, the new Roadwarden. I hope you're having a great day. Playful. I must say, as a Roadwarden, I've seen some disgusting beasts, but you surely have the kindest voice of them all. Distance. I'm Biddle, the new Roadwarden. Intimidating. I'm the new Roadwarden, and I value my time. Let's speak face to face. Vulnerable. I'd like to ask you a few questions, if that's fine with you. I'm wondering how I should respond to this based on how they talk to me. I'll try playful, maybe. Joker witty comment. Let's say as Roadwarden, I've seen some disgusting beasts, but you surely have the kindest voice of them all. During the long pause, the glow of the gargoyle's eyes subside. Once they light up again, the voice gets even colder. Oh. I don't know what answer you're looking for, so you'll get none. Do you even know who I am? I don't, I'm afraid. I'm just getting to know the realm. So you lost your way, and now you're wasting my time. Long pause. I'm Eudocia, the only enchantress you'll find in this land, and you're disturbing my work. I don't see people in the middle of the day. Return in the early morning, or a few hours before dusk if you have to. Best yet, don't bother me at all. The monster's eyes darken again. Your mount is ready to ride away. I guess that was the wrong thing to say. I guess I could leave, or I could wait. Is that what this is telling me? I could come back, I guess. Secluded residence, a small but luxurious hamlet. For some reason spared by wild beasts, you're currently here. Because what time is it? name is Biddle. I used to be a mage. I mean, is this gonna make me wait till dusk? Wow, it waited, yeah. That wasted like 5 hours. And I suppose I can't... Well, okay. I wish it would have been more clear about what that meant, but I thought it would do that, but I thought maybe it would ask me to confirm or something too. Anyway, it's getting colder. Finally, the monster's eyes glow red. Go inside, I'll be with you soon. The monster's eyes darken again. Soon after, you hear heavy steps and the earth shakes. Something lifts the beam blocking the gate. Realize that your hand is already on the haft of your axe. I try to relax, I'm safe. The gate opens violently and rebounds with a loud thud, almost closing again. The creature in front of you is made of floating rocks that appear to be connected, but it's just an illusion. They could twist and bend in every direction. The eyeless sentinel faces you blankly. You've seen other golems in Hovelland endlessly helping with bothersome tasks, but you've no idea what makes them move. It lowers its slab-like hands and steps aside, making way for you. Its head rotates, following your steps, but other than that, it's motionless as a statue. I enter the yard. The house in front of you has a huge entrance, just large enough for a golem. The building is whitewashed, but the lime is aged and damaged. The tools are spread around in no particular order. The rocks resting on top of the shed resemble the golems. The garden patches covered with herbs and vegetables are neglected. It's quiet here. I approach the sitting golem. It seems dead, inactive, as city folk would call it, but the pneuma still makes its chunks float less than an inch away from one another. It doesn't react to your presence. Unlike the previous golem, this one bears engraved signs on its larger rocks. Their meaning is unclear to you. You can't tell if they're decoration or carriers of a spell. A leaf of the doors opens. Step closer. The woman is tall and stands upright, with her arms crossed and legs apart. She seems more than 30, with a face touched by lack of sleep. She gives you a long look, observing your blade, hands, boots, forehead, everything but your eyes. I greet you. Without the distortion caused by the gargoyle, her strong voice isn't as disquieting. No surprise that it caught your eye, but don't disturb it. It's very much awoken and will defend itself, or me if it comes to it. I give her a better look. She's wearing a long, ragged robe covered in stains. It used to be blue, but now it's unevenly pale. She's barefoot, with skin covered with dust and dirt. Her dark hair was recently washed, but it's untidily spread on her shoulders, back, and chest. No jewelry, belt, or buckles. I'll maybe perhaps just be distant and just straight to the point. Let's get to it. She nods and looks at your ear. Can't figure out the color of her eyes. Green? Good. This place is not open to those who don't use the tongue of dragons in barter, and unlike those from creeks, idle talk puts me to sleep. Or to nightmares, rather. If you come here, I better get aught from it. From creeks. Am I supposed to know what that is? For now, let's not invite a dragon. She walks past you and cocks her head towards the golem who let you in. He turns around and shuts the gate. Good that you came at such an hour. Keep it up in the future. If you ever come in the middle of the day, you'll stand outside looking at the doors like an ibex. We don't need more salutations, so she looks at the sky, her voice remaining bored. If you're here to make a deal, I'm ready to hear you, but don't test my patience. I'm looking for Asterion, the previous Roadwarden. Nah, he's not here, not even a mouse in my shed. She meets your eyes, yet Her gray irises remain absent. Her sigh turns to a snort. Aught else? Do you have anything interesting to sell? I'll show her the arrow, sure. Why, are you tracing a murderer? She smirks, but then grabs the arrow and takes a quick look. Black and orange. I don't know much about wood, but I recognize these feathers. People of the Gale Rocks breed such pheasants. He gives it back. It's in the far north, close to the coast. Do you have anything to sell? I'm not a trader. I do stuff people ask me about, and they're not for sale. She glances at the house, then reaches to a pocket at her hips. There's but one tool I'm willing to part with for 10 bones, but it's for spellcasters only. She reaches out to you. On her open palm, you see a small, flat pebble, bluish, but in no way unusual. You put it in your mouth and press it to your palate. No chewing. She smirks. If you're a sorcerer, it'll restore your pneuma. What if it's used by someone who still has pneuma in them or can't use magic? Oh, you don't want to do that. She grabs the ends of her hair. It'll boil your blood and rip your skin apart. Each shell is like a bottle for pneuma, and it has its limits. You can train to contain more of it, like I've been doing for more than 20 years now, but there's no magical rock that's going to do it for you. Why a pebble? Wouldn't a potion be easier to use? Though I smell of smoke and mushrooms, I'm not going to play around with flasks and alembics. She shakes the rock. This one won't break, won't scatter, won't spoil. Perfect for a traveler, or any buyer, really. She steps away and adjusts her dirty robe. It works, and it won't hurt you if you're smart with it. It's a lifesaver. Well, think about it. What's your story? Why do you live so far from any village? She looks around. No. Fine. I got questions about your golems. She walks around the closest sentinel, observes it like a farmer would a donkey before a purchase. Isn't it clear what they are? Furniture that walks and works. They carry rocks and logs, hunt, kind of, and protect this place while I rest. What else is there to say? Do they talk? Eudocia moves her lips, but her words are coming from the stone creature, which doesn't move an inch. No more than the gargoyle you've seen. The voice is deep, distorted by an echo. They don't need meat or bones to listen to my commands, but have no understanding of what's happening around them. To create a sentient creature, you need a human shell and a whole lot of necromancy. Golem raises its hand and shows you its palms. And I'm not going to touch that. She then mentions that her creation isn't much of a messenger. It needs to remain close to her. Just look at it. The golem covers its non-existent mouth. It has no eyes, snout, ears. Seeing the world through its head is like putting your eyeball into a rose bush. It takes pneuma, and the further away it is, the more exhausting it gets. How do you make one? I fill you to rock with pneuma, bind them together. She pauses, then waves it off. You won't build one anyway. Like alchemists, enchanters have their own secrets, but I've got no way of sharing my talents with others. Is it for sale? One day, or so I hope. She points at a golem's hand. One wrong order and it'll tear your head away, or kick over a house. It won't ever be safe, but the dead make bad customers, and I won't be blamed for others' stupidity. Her further answers come in great detail, but they're rather complex. From what you understand, she plans to invent a set of very specific commands that could be quickly learned, then bind them to a wand, binding it to the creature. I'm still not sure if it's the safest solution. If a wand was taken by a reaver, stuff could get ugly. It's so loud when it walks, don't monsters react to its presence? She lets out a chuckle. They flee from them as they would from trolls. They can't stalk their prey or jump on them from a bush. But when they don't move for long, beasts take them from rocks. It's not like they need to breathe. It just sits still, waiting for a roe deer to get close. The golem's eyes suddenly get brighter. It jumps forward and punches the air. It lands with a sound of thunder. That's why I need them to be so large, the enchantress explains. I can't give them muscles. The speed I give them is pure pneuma. Being firm and heavy helps. She disregards your mention of the wrath of the herds. True, I make more mess than most humans would, but that's one of the reasons why I stay away from the villages. Being all alone, I give the beasts time to get used to my walls, and my sentinels know to stay away from unicorns and peddlers. Let's change the topic. So words on your golems, what do they mean? Looks at your right elbow. It's not warden decorations. What's with the gargoyle? Get an enchantress, show off her trophy? She gives you a proud smile. My sentinels took it down years ago. The tribe of old Pagos is fond of statues, so I have my own. Like in the old days, long before monks came to the north. Seeing your puzzled look, she twirls her hair. A dead gargoyle on the road or by a village gate was meant to scare off evil spirits. I don't know about that, but its sight sure taught the local beasts who they're dealing with. Can you teach me about enchanting? He looks at your hands and starts to twirl her hair. Not really. I don't know how I do the stuff I do. As a kid, I put Numa into my toys. I made my earthen sparrow fly, and the whistle gave me a tune without being blown. I practiced for years, but by doing, not by understanding. She puts a hand on her hips and observes her clean nails. I can't teach stuff that's in my fingers or my eyes or my breath. It's just part of me. Can I spend the night here? Even though she draws out her words with frustration, she speaks with ease, as if reciting a memorized speech. I know how harsh the woods can be, but I don't offer shelter to travelers. I don't want to look behind my own shoulder for hours or use my golems to protect you. Travel north or south, look for a tavern or an inn. You'll find a safe hearth there. She blinks and crosses her arms. We're both adults. Don't tell me that I could bind you with a rope or take away your blades. The less I have to touch you, the better. I'm looking for a job. Bronze rods. She stands still for a moment, then cocks her head to the side. I've got some stuff that could use another hand. You up for some danger if it comes to it? You nod and ask what sort of creature bothers her. Nah, I meant riding and climbing. You can do it without grabbing this axe of yours. Fine. Now give me a moment. She opens one of the heavy doors to her house. You catch a glimpse of a messy bed and a floor covered with clothes. After a minute, she shows up with a large sack filled with rods made of smooth, clean bronze. Here's the gist of it. I need you to get to 8 spots across the peninsula. High buildings, trees, mountainsides. I don't really travel much. She lets out a confident chuckle. So I can't hold your hand. I need one of them in White Marshes, in the wetlands far west of here. Other than that, you need to keep your eyes open. She takes one of the rods. Once you reach a good spot, place one of these as high as you can. I'll pay you in dragons, 2 for each one, but place at least 4 before you come to see me. I need as many out there as possible. So far, so good. What are they for? Well, there's magic in them, as you can imagine. You weigh a rod in your hand. Even though it's more than 2 feet long, it's light, empty inside. You could bend it on your knee. The bag also contains a large hemp cord and a scrap of cloth. If I were to send my golems away, let's say a mile or 2 from here, they'd stop moving at all, waiting for me to show up. She approaches the nearest sentinel and touches its chest. They carry similar rods inside, so the plan is to give my orders better range, so to speak. I'm tired of depending on hirelings, especially since they no longer stop by. She leans against the golem with her arms crossed. Questions? How much time do I have? But don't worry about it. She dusts off the golem's arm, let's say, before the leaves turn yellow. Some of the locals might not be happy with me putting bronze rods on their rooftops. She gives you a puzzled look. Wardens do have their ways to get on people's good side, correct? And I can be sure you have no plans to raid villages with an army of unstoppable sentinels, right? Her gray eyes give you a long, disquieting look. You could swear it's getting colder here. I won't ask for your trust, and I don't need it. Either you help me or leave the rods and do your own stuff. I may be forced to pull some strings to get it done. 2 dragon bones won't be enough. You haggle for a bit, but her distrust is like a wall. She waves your arguments off. I'm not a merchant. I don't gather coins for the thrill of it. I'm putting almost 20 dragons on the table here. Should be enough. Do all 8 rods, and I may prepare aught else for ye. I'm curious. We've got a deal, I guess. Did you fill an item of mine with Numa? It's not how it works. She points at her golems. Her nails are short and clean, and her hands are soft. I work all the time, but each item takes me days, sometimes a full season. Tribes bring me things to enchant in the early spring and collect them a year later. I've got to... She blinks a few times, not sure what to say. Her gray eyes widen. Imagine stuff. It takes great focus. You mentioned that you generously reward her, but she only shrugs. You don't plant, you don't build. I won't eat dragon bones. For now, do your warden duties and come by the end of autumn. Maybe I'll have time to get something done for ye after the thaws. What if I'm in desperate need? She rolls her eyes, ye and everyone else. I want to learn more about the peninsula. I'm not selling gossip, nor am I buying it. My hut, my guards, and my lake. I'm an artisan, not an innkeep. If you need one, ride south to Pelt to the north. The keeper is stiff like a broom, but offers nice room. Her voice is dripping with annoyance. Or if you'd rather visit a cheerful place, ride north to Foggy Lake. Or was it Foggy's Lake? Whatever, Foggy is the keeper. At least she's not as boring as the other guy. Doesn't trust me enough to speak about Asterion. All right. Here we travel north. It's going to take us multiple hours to get there. I guess let's go north. With no trees or crags blocking the sun, this road is bright and inviting. The simple bridge is centuries old, bitten by time. It makes you think of the dolmen you saw south of here. The torrent here is deep and fast with plenty of fish. The boat is destroyed beyond repair, rotten, fallen to pieces, with holes in the floor and on the sides, overgrown with fungi and moss. The thick shrubs are covered with thorns. Small birds are jumping from one twig to another, pecking at the brown berries. You think about picking some of the fruits, but you're not sure if they're edible. Look at the fish. See dozens of red and gray shells. As you walk by, they stay close, following your steps. Wash myself in the river. You undress, keeping your axe at hand. Check the water with your hand. It's warm as it is clean. You step in, hearing your mount's afraid snort. You tell it to quench its thirst, but then a harsh bite reaches your calf. You look down. Another wave of pain runs through your legs. Your blood flows downstream. In a panic, you climb back, grabbing a clump of grass. A fish still holding your thigh. You pull it. It's squeezed with anger. Its mouth is filled with inch-long, thin teeth. You need a bandage. Cast it into the bushes and make it suffocate. Peabody looks around nervously and approaches when it notices your attention. That sucks. This may go poorly, but I'm going to keep traveling. Oh boy. Gentle road leads downhill, getting greener and less rocky. And the further north you get, just in case, your eyes run toward a few drier parts of the meadow, and you instantly shout at Peabody to make haste. Oh gosh. A pack of short-haired wolves, at least 20 members strong, is chasing after you. Their coats are a mixture of yellow, black, and white spots, as if someone threw mud and paint at them. They move toward the road with human-like speed, and you notice only some of them are running straight at you. They try to cut my path. If it wasn't for your palfrey, the beasts would have already caught up with you. Their trap was perfectly set up, not leaving you any path to escape. Your terrified mount is disciplined enough to stay on the beaten path. Even though one of the big-eared wolves almost sinks its teeth into your mount's thigh, you manage to squeeze between the hunters. The next few minutes, you do your best to get further away, and while your gallop is indeed faster, the wolves easily shorten the distance by moving through the sparse forest. You ride past a wooden cabin, placed in the clearing at the bottom of a rock face, but you can't stop while the chase is at your back. You have something I could use. Heck. You think about your sacks and bundles, but the pack won't wait for you to sort things out. The group gets larger the further you go. As even more of its members, previously hidden among the trees and grasses, now join the hunt, allowing their tired family members to slow down. You may be able to lose them after some time, but scaring or wounding them may force them to give up their prey sooner. I've got nothing. You focus on the road ahead, forcing your mount to speed up whenever a beast tries to catch it. After a few more minutes, you leave the hills and the grasslands of a valley, but the pack doesn't give up on you yet. At least their numbers have stopped growing. You're already outside of their territory, and the handful of spotted, colorful shells also seem tired. They are forced to stay on the beaten path. Without a palfrey, you'd be dead already. You get out of the valley and follow another narrow path through the hills and trees, clearly shaped by humans, at least in part. The leaves and rocks start to blur into vague memory. But after another few minutes, the howls stop. You don't slow down just yet. I feel like there's some things along this road I missed because of that. But who knows? Those were some stubborn wolves. You reach a gentle, open path, seeing a lake to the west and hearing a gentle creak ahead of you. Peabody is exhausted but patient. More happy to survive than it is angry at your wanderlust. At least you can hope the pack will move to a different place during the night. I better get out of the saddle and let it rest for a bit before I move forward. Oh boy. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. When you have a game with this much text, it could probably be hard to always proofread every single thing. And there's also just words that... just the way it's written sometimes. It's not necessarily written like a very clear, distinct story. There's like a personality to the way it says certain things, which makes it harder to read occasionally too. The air is humid but fresh, vitalizing. The light touches the road and shrubs blocked only by the single willow, wild and untrimmed. You're by a lake too large for you to see its other bank, but the local soil isn't too fertile. There are only a few trees on the horizon, while the struggling bushes and grasses fight with layers of rocks. The further path north is green, bright, and calming. A gray rabbit is cleaning its fur near the brook, but the sound of hooves makes it hop toward the nearest shrub. Right after it sinks into the leaves, you hear its squeal cut off quickly. Whatever its hunter was, it leaves behind only the rustling of the thicket and a trail of blood. You wait for a long minute with a hand on your axe, but the creature doesn't return. You relax for a bit, then turn toward the stone statue of a young woman. Man, I'm not doing too hot. I ride a bit closer to it. Such a monument would be a better fit for a temple or a rich city folk's house. Here, without any cover, it's already losing its shape from the rains and dust. Chunks of the face and hair have already broken off. It has detailed eyes and human-like proportions, and the clothes are like fabric petrified by a spell. The statue carries the usual traveling equipment, a walking staff, a gambeson, simple pants now covered by leaves. Huh. Look at the pedestal. Maybe someone left a valuable offering. You dismount and approach The bushes covering the legs of the pedestal. You see some old wooden bowls as well as rocks. You try to push the leaves away, but their stems are thick and healthy, crowded by insects and spider webs. Until you remove the thicket, you won't be able to see if there's anything worth stealing. Thankfully, there's no horns, and the touch of the leaf doesn't make your finger itchy. I don't think I have the time to spare to do this. And this might be some kind of... It might piss somebody off if I just try to steal stuff from this, I guess. Boy, oh boy. Oh. The lakeside is filled with the chirping of cicadas and crickets, as well as the roaring of beasts from the hills. The yellow, tall grasses are interwoven with flowers and bumblebees, while the peaceful water shines just as much as the wings of dragonflies. The road is often traveled, and the clatter of hooves carries far. Thanks to the vast field of view, the creatures hiding in the meadows are unlikely to jump on an animal as large as Peabody. In the distance, you see a palisade and a large building set on the side of a crossroad. As you get closer, you hear a conversation from behind the wall. Two men are arguing about if they really just heard a horse. Maybe they know some useful rumors. Peabody carries you towards the open gate on its own, welcoming an opportunity to rest by pushing out the air loudly through its nostrils. A nearby wooden pen won't offer much space for a horse, but should be enough for grazing and a nap. As you dismount, two men get up from the front stairs. Their clean-shaven faces reveal that they're in their early 20s. The first one is taller than you, broad-shouldered, and wears light brown pants and a darker jacket, both of them made of leather. With an inviting smile, he gets up and moves to open the enclosure. His steps are heavy and slow, but every movement is marked with carefulness, assuring he won't knock down anything or anyone. The second man looks as different from his colleague as the sun and the moon. He's unusually short and wears a heavy cloak made from black fur, so large it could cover his entire shell. He opens the door of the building, hides his hand, and peeks into the room. Foggy! His voice is shrill and unconcerned. A messenger comes. Huh. I take off some of my bundles, let my horse rest. The hanging barrel sways in the wind, marking the place as an inn or tavern. The building resembles a merchant's house from Havelvan, whitewashed and with oiled, elegant wooden beams. Fragile walls are high enough to avoid floods and snow, but you have no doubt that a troll or even a pebbler could easily break through them. The palisade is short, has hardly any support, and has no walkway for crossbowmen, hard enough for even a makeshift hamlet. What is a pebbler? Like most people, you know quite a bit about pebblers, maybe the most infamous sources of nuisance for farmers across the Dragonwoods. They can get as big as a house, and maybe just as heavy. From time to time, pebblers look for some unusual tastes, like meat or honey, which can encourage them to bother human settlements. Once they get used to a specific spot, like an unfenced farm or a forest garden, getting rid of them may be a huge endeavor. There are but a few blades able to cut through their thick skin and durable bones, and a single mistake may put them into a furious charge, and then encourage them to look for human dwellings to tear them down in revenge. Trolls are merciless predators that move through the forest in small groups, devour as many creatures as they can catch, trying to satiate their seemingly endless hunger. Whenever they arrive in a new area, the majority of local wild game run for their lives, which also causes the migration of predators. Only the largest monsters, such as dragons, peddlers, or unicorns, don't feel threatened by a troll family. The rest instinctively avoid any signs of their presence. They're massive, heavy creatures with powerful long arms. Fighting them requires a team of experienced fighters and is considered to be a righteous effort. Letting them be can put a heavy burden on the local wilderness. Witnesses claim that trolls can also be attacked by the wrath of the herds. The priests of the United Church, however, deny the validity of such rumors. Unicorns are massive beasts covered in thick brown fur. They're named after the horns sticking out of their skulls, often larger than a human shell. They move on 4 legs in dense forests and open meadows, but since they avoid settlements or even commonly use roads, they are shrouded in mystery, with legends and rumors that often contradict one another. Yet unicorns are amongst the most feared creatures of the Dragonwoods, infamous for holding a crucial role in the wrath of the herds. They charge in the front, able to get through wooden and most stone walls with a single crash, ignoring the wounds they receive in the process. Their part is then done. Other beasts can get inside, not bothering with the defenders. Huh. Yet it's the open harbor that makes you uneasy. Aside from the fish, any creature, aquatic or not, could just walk into the yard undisturbed. The path is covered with paw prints and claw marks. Better not leave Peabody outside during the night. A black and white bird swoops into the water and flaps its wings and takes off with a silver, twitching creature in its talons. The large man clears his throat. And what have we here? Coming from afar, friend? Are there now horses and howlers? His voice is stentorian, close to a shout. You recognize vaguely this accent from the city harbor. Stentorian it means extremely loud and powerful. What far kind soul Peabody came with me from Havlovan. Quite far, I'll do this. Quite far kind soul Peabody came with me from Havlovan. He nods appreciatively. A weird beast, a donkey that can kill a man. You notice he keeps quite a distance from it and holds his hand close to his throwing club. Haven't seen one in a while. The roads here aren't that bad. They'll take you north and east with ease. I was almost wondering if there's a bestiary thing for horses. Foggy. She's the owner of Foggy Lake. You hear heavy footsteps. A woman shows up at the door and looks at you from the top of the stairs. She's even more towering and stout than her son, the man who just welcomed you. With a massive chest and a pear-shaped face with a prominent chin, her movements are composed and confident. She may be older than 50 with a mixture of gray and dark blonde hair. She has only one arm, the left one, notably muscular, with a hand so large it could likely chop off Peabody's head with a single strike, or crush yours like a berry through the slit of her robe. made of creamy worn fur. You spot her trunk-like legs. She runs her eyes over your blade, armor, and mount. Her lips form into something of a smile, distorted by the scar that runs through her mouth. The tall guy looks a lot like her. The tall man spreads his arms, forming a chain between you and his mother. Meet Foggy, friend, Ma. The rider has come to us from Havelvan. Just look at his horse. His powerful voice turns timid, and he keeps turning his head from left to right and back. Too bad we have no hay. It looks hungry. The woman looks at him with amusement that glances at your palfrey. A cute monster you've brought, but not enough fat on it. If it ever breaks a leg, bring it here. We'll smoke it for winter. She stretches out her hand vaguely. What brings you to Foggy Lake, love? Just stopping by? Her voice is hoarse, like that of a traveler who spent too many autumn nights in cold tents, yet carries a hint of motherly concern. I close the animal pen behind me and head towards the stairs. You won't find another shelter in this part of the Dragonwoods, especially not in creeks. She scratches her broad chin with sausage-like fingers. You drink? Ah. I'll just keep being nice, I guess. In good company. That's what I like to hear. Her brief, powerful laughter is enough to scare away the birds from above the lake. Your mount lets out a fearful snort. Let's not wait then. Come, dear, share a story with me and a mug. Without waiting for your response, she walks inside. The tall man takes a deep breath. Go ahead, we'll take care of your horse. He encourages you with a gesture. And by that he means you won't do anything with it, adds the man in black fur. Whenever his screechy words follow the deep voices of his companions, he sounds like a brat. We're not feeding or washing beasts we won't put in a stew, but we'll keep an eye on it. He finds new spots to rest, the side of a boat and a stool near the palisade. Go up the stairs. The narrow segmented window shutters, let in a lot of light without letting the beast inside. The air is humid, but carries not a hint of putridity. The heels of Foggy's boots make her steps thunder even though the planks don't creak. Make yourself at home, she says, without looking at you, heading to the trapdoor in the corner. I'll just grab a little something. Your ears catch the screeches of hunting birds and the wind that leaks through the windows. But other than that, the room is quiet. Look where the ladder leads. I didn't want to climb up there. You climb up a simple rope ladder and reach the attic. It smells like a haystack. The floor is covered with animal furs, bags, and clothes. There's a soul sitting in the corner, a bearded man in his 20s, who has only the right hand. Though unlike the tavern keeper, he has kept the rest of his arm. His sleepy eyes observe you without a word. After he greets you with a nod, he starts to put on his boots. Just to get the main hall. The room is crammed with stuff. The bear pelt on the ground would be a nice resting spot, but the place doesn't look like a real home. No chests, no cabinets for clothes, no toys or tools or simple crafts that would fill the time during rainy evenings. Living with so many windows in winter would be a struggle. One could clear this place in one morning and move all that's worth saving onto a single wagon. The only thing of exceptional value are the cauldron made of pricey steel and the hanging head of an insect-like monster. Its mandibles don't move. The dim eyes seem intact. Its armored head tells a long story of survival through scratches and cuts. I guess I'll check the basement. The meager light hinders your view. There are dozens of barrels, sacks, stone tools, bowls, and pieces of roasted fish or bird meat. Foggy notices you but doesn't say anything. He looks for something among the bunch of bottles. kind of wondering if these are the people that cut down the tree. Ugh. And then they took all the food and stuff from that cart. There's a couple of animal trophies placed upon the barrels and leaning against the walls. Fangs, claws, monster heads, and a lizard skin. Quite a collection. Sit down at the table, wait for the keeper's return. Take a glance at the blood on the table. Scattered yellow feathers and a bowl of guts and talons. You find yourself a clean stool. Foggy shows up soon, smiling, holding 2 cups in her hand, a bottle in her fingers, and a cloth under her shoulder. She puts everything on a stool and wipes the table clean. Forgive the mess, just part of the job, she explains without a hint of apology. I'd rather dress birds in the yard, but the blood lures beasts. Some of the folks from creeks bring us meals, but we need to take care of ourselves. She throws the bloody cloth back to the bucket, making a splash. Then sits down on a stool, making it look like it was made for a doll. She rests her elbow on the table, looks you in the eyes. Her voice is warm yet intrusive. So who am I dealing with? I introduce myself. The bottle removes its seal seemingly by itself. Wax floats in the air briefly, then lands on the table gently. Without a word, she pours a thick liquid into the cups with her only hand, but doesn't offer you your drink just yet. I'm looking for Asterion, previous Roadwarden. He looks at you and for a longer moment without the slightest movement. Why do you think he's here? Not saying that I do, but maybe you know where I could find him? Ah, I misunderstood you. She shakes her head and leans on the table. I don't know his whereabouts. He didn't tell me a thing more than I needed to. What can you tell me about him? She rests her only hand on her stomach, which you identify as her version of crossing her arms. A customer and an errand runner. What's there to say? Your additional questions don't get many more answers. She brings up the man's looks and equipment without adding much to what you've already learned from Talia. He was paying with dragons, rarely bartered, she adds. That's what city folk do, seeking riches, then locking themselves in a chamber, prisoners of their might. I smile, well said. Her chuckle makes you think of a wolf's growl. When was the last time you saw him? She glances out a window. Same as the others in the late days of spring. We were waiting for his return, me and all the villages. Then moved on. I've no idea where he went. All of the villages, you say? She turns towards you with the fierceness of a bear. That's what I said. Did he do any jobs for you? She's pressing her tongue against her cheek and lips. Well, I'm not sure. He was bringing me news or delivering my messages. Sold me some stuff, sometimes bought a thing or two. His life wasn't really that riveting. Just another mug guzzler, sitting in the corner, patching his clothes. Did he sell you anything unusual? She stares at you without blinking. Such as what? Something that hints to where he went? She frowns. I'll tell you if I think of anything. You don't sound especially bothered by his disappearance. You see me as someone eager to make friends with a vagabond. I'll take it as a compliment to my skills as a tavern keep. Folks come and go, their faces disappear. Friends die in my arms. She pauses. Families fade away. There was a different Roadwarden years ago, and there's another one now. But there's only one Foggy in the north, and one Elan, that slow son of mine, and one Creeks. I have only so many tears to spare. We'll return to this later. Maybe. Once our souls will be too restless to stay quiet. Now go ahead, enjoy your drink. You raise the cup to your nose. You smell flowers, yeast, and hops. The liquid is golden on the edges but resembles red amber in the center. It's as thick as a herbal medicament. You take a look at your companion, seeking a hint of what's expected of you. In some places, people gulp down their mead, but your vessel allows you to appreciate the aroma. The huge keeper smiles and takes a sip. You follow her lead. The drink touches your lips. It's warm, hiding none of its subtleties. Drinking mead is a never-ending conflict between holding the taste in your mouth and saving yourself from the tormenting sweetness of honey. But the flavors of flowers are just as present, too difficult to capture just yet. Foggy leans forward with an elbow resting on the table. Well, for me, it's a lazy evening. At least the rain spares us, so nicely holding on to the nights. What's the story behind this place? Can't be older than a few years. It's our third summer under the roof of Foggy Lake, but the palisade is older. It used to be a camping spot for the bird catchers from creeks, and there are fish here that don't swim in our streams. When we were but newcomers in the north, these lands were hard to bend, but the beasts got used to us with time. A melancholy crawls into her eyes. She observes the mead in her cup. Every year or so, we've added something new. The rocks for a campfire, some stools, a fence, a firewood shed, a boat. At one point, we brought the lumber from White Marshes and built a cabin, like the one at the Eastern Road. More folks were resting here, even traders from Gale Rocks and Old Pagos. Not sure what the A apostrophe thing, how you pronounce that. A plenty fine spot for an inn, aye? Yeah, Foggy seems. Like a cool character. You'd let her... I was trying to look up how you would pronounce that for sure. For pronouncing things. Pronunciation. It's an acute. But I'm not sure. This is harder to look up than I thought it would be. Sometimes you can look up stuff and it gives you like examples. Pronunciation in English. How to pronounce.
In French, and it is found also within words, just like in the word voila in French. So by itself, as well as when it is used within a word, well, this letter with this accent is pronounced as just like the...
I'll go with that. Agos. Her smile is warm. I'm building my home from nothing, you could say, and not for the first time. How about you? Does it even sound tempting? That's the dream, a place far away from Havaven, somewhere where I can rest after a day of work without an aching back. You speak my own words, love, my own words. We have a good home here in the north, not a safe one, but a fun one. But there's plenty of food and plenty of things to build. I'm already luckier than most. She looks at the place where her missing arm used to be. How do you stay safe from the beasts? You're completely open from the lake. Quick legs, love. Her brief yet thunderous laughter makes you flinch. We don't leave any food outside, but our cauldron smells. Every now and then something scary shows up. We lock ourselves here for days if we have to. Our windows help us keep an eye on the yard, better than leaving the hamlet to goblins. You mention that having no wall from the lakeside is quite a risk. She nods in agreement and takes another sip. We don't bring children and old folks around, but this part of the peninsula is not so bad, at least in sunlight. Not much food growing or running around unless you can live on fish and birds. And the folks of creeks are great hunters. The greatest around, but there isn't a harbor. But isn't there a harbor in the city as well? How'd you keep the creatures away? They're used to avoiding hell, then the guards and sailors make it too dangerous for them. Mostly stay in the water, waiting for trash or drunkards to fall down from a bridge. Every now and then something large shows up between the boats or even enters the streets. People learn to run away and leave it to the soldiers, but from time to time they're casualties. It's actually the flying beast that bothers us. This is interesting because I'm like, I don't know the answer to this question. So I'm kind of just like deciding. I don't think I know the answer to this anyway. I would think if I did, it would tell me if I'm lying about something, you know? I'm just wondering what to answer, or how to answer. I'll say this. You mostly stay in the water, waiting for trash or drunkards to fall down from a bridge. Uh-oh. Our answer back. Chilling. One day we had such a thing here during our first summer. 2 adventurers got drunk and went to watch the lake after dark. We'll hide if anything shows up, they were saying. The morning, the water was red and their rags were covering the rocks. Any interesting beasts that you hunt for? Oh, I hunt for nothing, she smirks. Not since I lost my arm. And the boys outside are not made for it either. They've no drive to fight, you see, and grew up to be wimps. They sometimes club down a hare, but we're all about foraging and bird traps now. The folks and creeks do the real hunting, she adds after a pause. Runners, mouflons, rats, sometimes a buffalo or a saurian. We have no soil for fields, so game meat is all we have left. She stretches out, getting even taller. Do you hunt often? Making a monster bleed makes me feel alive. Wow. I don't know. And how have you find much game? Aside from rats and pigeons. Speaking of rats, it used to be the same in the capital. Kids taught one another how to hit them with rocks, and we still eat those around here. Not much glory in easy kills, but they're better than bark. What brought you north? You don't look like someone who spends their life cleaning tables. Once you burn enough dead friends and relatives, cleaning tables start to look plenty tempting. She leans forward and takes another look at her bottle, sealing it with an approving nod. My ma and pa were both big and strong. One time they saw me sitting on this kid, twisting his arm, so they started to teach me. Staff duels, running, lifting barrels and rocks. Thankfully, the army chieftain said I wasn't disciplined enough. She rubs the scars on her forehead. So I did a lot of things. Escorted some merchants, joined a group of adventurers, hunted for bounties, guarded a village temple. The last memory makes her voice gloomy. Not all of these things make me proud of myself. She smells the meat in her cup, but doesn't take a sip. I moved here only after I lost my arm, and the folks were fleeing the invasion. I took my Elan, a casket of dragons, and joined a more organized group. Arm or not, I still have a fierce punch. She lets out a pleased grunt. I was worth keeping around. Her voice can't hide that she's delighted to carry on with her tale. Now that the years are catching up with me, and even more so with my back, I need to build myself a decent shelter. I crave no adventures, but I'm happy to hear stories from other restless souls. In the meantime, I'll practice this little trick. She points at the cauldron in the middle of the room and starts to make circles with her finger. The ladle mimics the movement, mixing the stew for another minute or two. That's also good for my back. Your name's Foggy, and this is Foggy Lake. Is a tavern called after you, or you after the lake? The lake has no name. She moves her cup away and leans forward, resting her elbow on the table. Her voice is playful, warm. Yet, I mean. But there will be stories about this place, believe me, about passing by the lake while getting to Foggy's. I may not be a dragon slayer or a holy woman, but one way or another my soul will live on in my name, tied to these walls. She looks at you in silence, then bursts into laughter. You could swear she makes the jars shake. I'm plenty fine being vain. We all want to be remembered, I think. My pa used to say, memories of ours live in the blood of our children. But guess what? Kids die as well. All my brothers and sisters gone. She pauses, but there's no sadness in her eyes. Stories have a better reach. We can tell each other about strangers who lived centuries ago. There's magic in that. I nod toward the spot where her right arm should be. Any story there? She leans back, moving her shoulders and chest up and down, as if she's having a soundless chuckle. Not one I'm going to share with a newcomer, dear. Stay alive until next autumn. I'll open a cask of cold cider and tell you a tale. Tell you quite a tale. It has treason, treasure, monsters, and dark spells, but I'm too sober for it now. She grabs her cup. Her wink turns into an awkward blink. So you can move things with your thoughts. She chuckles. Why, can't you? I know some tricks, but not that one. I tell her about my amulets. She pays great attention to the ways you've obtained your talismans and how they affect your spellcasting. In my family, it was nothing like that, she says after a good couple of minutes. My grandparents used to be great mages, but not great enough to survive the plague. Her scarred lips form a grimace. My ma has got no talent from them. After a year of training, she was hardly able to push a feather from a distance of a foot. I always knew I had a strong soul in my blood, but there was no soul there to teach me how to use it. She examines her cup. The ladle stops moving. Now I try to figure it out all by myself, but without a teacher. I may not have enough summers left to become a master. What's going to happen next? Will you build a real wall? Why not? Then grow my connections in the villages, buy more hard drinks, build another shed, a cabin even, and hire a private warden for these roads, for my guests. She sips from her cup, looking at you. But it's all in a distant future. We at Creeks need to take care of the eastern route, clear it for traders. Without trade, all I have is the locals, and they don't even use dragon bones. But why'd you care, Deal? Are you planning to stay around? I'll see what the future brings. She nods, as will we all. You seem to be into some expensive drinks. The pricey ones are gifts I received, or treasures I found when I was young. I also bought a few. I like to offer something unusual to the wealthier or more promising guests. She tilts her cup. I dabbled with some recipes myself. I have plenty of brewing tools, though I can name maybe half of them. Still from ales to hard drinks, I had some successes. I must say, love, I rarely meet folks with that many questions. She gives you a warm look. What hides beneath them? We all need friends, don't we? She rests her hand on her stomach. We do, but some of us need them more than others. I'd say it's better for me to have a peek into the Roadwarden's head. A good one will shake things up a fair bit. The bad ones will die quickly. What do you have for sale? Now you're talking. She grins. Well, I could serve you some of my cooking, not food rations, mind you. Need what we can save for the winter season. Let's say you give me a dragon, in return I'll cook for you 4 times. You just need to ride up when you're hungry. And other than that, you won't take any wood or stone, are you? Seeing your shrug, she waves it off and heads towards the trap door. After a minute, she shows up with a sack that clangs after every step. I can sell you some scraps. She pulls out a couple of iron clasps, nails, and a broken steel blade. Of valued trash. We found them while foraging. We don't have a furnace in Creeks, but you could sell these bits and pieces to someone else. She observes you for a moment, then shrugs. Let's discuss the price. Let me take a look first. I've got 5. I mean, I like the idea of this. Pay 1 and get some food, a few meals out of her. Which means I can't afford that, but... Do I have anything that I could part with? So I have an hourglass amulet, I guess. Okay. Sure. You hear anything about necromancers here in the north? She rubs her chin. I don't like what they're doing one bit, but I can't blame them. The folks at White Marshes struggle, and they don't know how to protect their kids, their elders. Aurentius, their priest. She cracks her shoulders. Quiet man, but preaches like a zealot. Always looks like he's on the verge of crying. She opens the door with a wave of a hand, letting in some fresh air. She looks at the lake. They used to trade in lumber, those from the marshes, until Howler's Dell started selling their own trees for better prices. The trade to marshes died, and so came the hunger. She looks at you with an unclear grimace on her lips. You may judge them, but at least the preacher gave them hope, even if it's tied to black magic. Any interesting rumors? She nods. I know this and that. Which place? Tolia's camp. A mystery, that it's still standing at all. There are always bad tales about the place, folks disappearing or getting sick, highwaymen taking over, weird screams and nightmares. Caius, the one without a hand, she points toward his whereabouts with her thumb. He had a vision one night there, something that turned his soul wicked. That's what Hag Hills do to folks. Hag Hills? Honestly, we're done with Hag Hills, at least from this side. The old mine by the western road is flooded. There are no plans to build a new quarry. New quarry hamlet. Old Pagos cuts better blocks of stone anyway. She looks through the window at the lake. The river that flows by the southern road is wide and strong, with no bridges or settlements. If there's anything behind it, no soul has found it yet. Old Pagos. You'll do good with visiting that place, dear. It may be one of the oldest villages in the north. But even if not, it's safe, with strong walls and safe roads. Their crops are weak, but for generations now they've been cutting stone and building for other tribes in exchange for supplies. Sometimes they've tied themselves to the monks, and now they don't look kindly on those who don't follow the orders of truth. She pauses, twisting her lips to one side, choosing her words carefully. But there are plenty fine folks, true believers, something lost in the city, not ones to deal with slave trading and pillage. Can I look at my map? Can I ask about... Let's do this. White marshes. It's an old village. Placed them on the bogs in the west, not far from here, but the road there leads around the woods, so it takes a good while. She rubs her chin. I'm sure you already know about the Awoken. I don't like what the folks there are doing, not one bit, but I can't blame them to struggle. They don't know how to protect their kids, their elders. Did I read this already? At least something very similar, if I haven't. Trading lumber in those marshes, Howard's Dell started selling on trees for better prices. There's a lot to say about Howard's Dell, my dear. Her eyes dart around. You have to press her before she says anything of note. It's in the middle of the western road among the safer lands and has a large forest garden. Its folks eat and dress well and have plenty of guards and strong spells of their druids. She scratches her knee, measuring every word. Whatever you do, remember to laugh at the mayor's jokes. Her name is Thias. Don't stay in her way. The other guy they mentioned was Arentius. I'm just trying to write more notes. You wonder how Thias looks like. You imagine the fog, he should be able to squash most humans in the blink of an eye. What was that place called? Pelt of the North? It's placed in what used to be an outpost of dragon hunters, older than mine, but finally renewed. Far away near the pass that leads through Hag Hills. An inn so you can rest there or buy yourself some food. Yes, The innkeeper leads a group of big game hunters, though when they're together, he's like a cloud above them. Otherwise, they can be a lot of fun. They haven't been here long. Must not much more than 10 years. And they mostly keep to themselves. Can I ask about Eudocia? I know a fair bit about that house. It's not more than a few years old. It's east of the watchtower, surrounded by a wall. My Elan helped build it. Civi as well. Is that the short guy? Gale rocks. Eudocia enchanted things for the tribes for years. That's how she got enough savings and trust to get stone and wood she needed. She slept alongside the workers in the watchtower for months. I can't trust they'll build it right, she told me. Now she doesn't leave her home at all, just surrounds herself with walking rocks. She doesn't seek friends among the tribes. Maybe she's lonely. Maybe she's crazy. A witch. Did I ask about Gale rocks? Can I also ask about Zivi? Gale rocks, not the nicest bunch of fishers, are they? She chuckles, but there's motherly concern in her eyes. Harsh lives give birth to harsh folks, dear. They spend every sunny day on their fishing boats, then cut the sea fish all night long to place them in barrels or hang them in the smokery. They don't have crops, no lumber or iron. The coastal birds and rock squabs are their only game meat. It's not too dangerous being a fisher, but all they get comes from trading. Well, you can tell that's not good news. They try to be their own merchants, take their wares south. With every year, they need to burn more pyres. She scratches her broad chin. Hard to believe Gale Rocks is as old as it is, and that they stick to it no matter how difficult their lives get. What was the name? The Dolmen? What should you know about the Dolmen? The Southern Road, must be centuries old, but I'd rather spend a night in a young inn, thank you. But isn't it weird that there are no other chapels in the north? Maybe they were all dismantled. Stone has its price after all. I know hunters used to make campfires there, but I bet it leaves sticky soot on the walls. It sure does. Would she know about the fallen tree? I asked about that. Fallen trees are everywhere, dear. This one's important. It blocks the road to the southeast corner. No wagon is going to ride through anytime soon. Shit. More and more to deal with. Better pick the news to Elah and Creeks. He may be able to deal with it. What was Creeks again? Creeks is my home. It's younger by by over a year. It may be small, but I've felt better with the folks there than I ever did the capital. She takes a big breath. We used to live on wild game, fish, and foraged goods, and after some years, we chased the larger animals out of the forest. Now our youth learn carpentry. We make barrels, planks, tools. If trade ever comes back here, we'll have things to sell. There used to be only struggle. Now there's hope and laughter. We may be poor, but it's the last joyful place in the north. Her eyes get gloomy as she reaches for one of the bottles from the shelf. Aye, there were struggles. I'm among our oldest. But those who came here with me, she pauses, then puts the bottle away. But now their children have a real home. Can I ask just about this Elah person? No. She wants to know about places. What about the abandoned watchtower? That's not what she was talking about before, was it? Gosh. I'll be right back real quick. Okay. The watchtower used to be safe shelter. She looks through the door. Its walls could stop even the larger beasts. Well, maybe not a dragon. But there are no soldiers around here, and without traders, also no mercenaries. We asked adventurers to occupy it, but all they ever did was grab what they could, hunt for a bit, and went away. Edosia, the enchantress, said she cares not about keeping the tower in one piece. We don't even have a key to the main door, so it's in Gale Rocks. Ah. We can only wait and see how many years it will take before it turns into a ruin. So I'm wondering if I had gotten the key from this place, actually, could I have opened the door and then kept it more secure, you know? But either way, I'd have to deal with the bugs. You ask her what you can find near the watchtower. Edosia is to the east, the road through the heart of the forest to the west. Far away to the south, you'll find a dolmen, but no soul looks after it anymore. The road north leads here, through the stone bridge and foraging grounds. Is there anything about the old bridge? Might as well try asking about old bridge, so on. Must be centuries old, this slab, and will stay longer than any of us. My tribesfolk from Creeks built it for hunters years back, a damn mistake of ours. Runners ate two of my friends before we finished construction. We should have waited for a few more years, let the animals get used to us, but now the roads are not much better. Foraging grounds. I haven't heard of such a place. The foraging grounds? Maybe she just has nothing to say about it. Anything else I should ask about that I know about? I can't think of anything. Pav Lavan. Nah, I wasn't let in. She burst into laughter and tried only once. When I was seeking asylum, too many folks did the same. It was as far away from the front line as possible, still not far enough. I didn't want to sit at the gate waiting for folks inside to die and make space. I headed to the peninsula with the rest of my group, and I'd say we got lucky. A few days later, the dragon burnt 100 souls, if not more, and many others were lost to the nights and hunger. Thanks. You got anything to do? Check on old Pagos. She grins. I somehow doubt you're here to forage for me, love. Not that I have any room for another soul. Let me think. She runs her eyes over the shelves and the trophies, but it's the rocks surrounding the fireplace that catch her attention. The folks at old Pagos are weirdly quiet. They were supposed to drop 2 wagons of rocks at my place. Can you check on them? Just find out if they're fine. I never asked about that statue, I guess. Maybe I could do that too. You mentioned the payment. It won't take much work from a rider. You could get there and back in less than a day. Just ride west of here till you get to the crossroads, then another one. Turn west again and you'll find the village. I'll give you, say, a dragon bone. You mentioned that it's not much, but she waves it off. A Roadwarden should get familiar with all the villages anyway, right? Just do this when you have a chance. I'll have more coins for you once you prove you can be trusted with the simpler tasks. What can you tell me about old Pagos? This is what she told me already. Statue. Statue of a woman. That old gal from Gale Rocks told me it's the Wanderer, the spirit who looks after travelers. She's centuries old, the spirit, not the statue. And needs gifts, just a bit of this and that to pay for her own food and shelter. At her feet, one should spare an apple, a dragon bone, even a pretty pebble. Those who'd skimp on her will one day be in need. We'll see a woman with a staff on the horizon, too busy with her own struggles to help them. Foggy frowns, moving the scars on her forehead. But how do we know what these travelers saw beats me? Could I spend a night or two under your roof? New shelter unlocked. She approaches a window above the table and looks outside. Your beast won't make it easy for us, dear. She places her hand on the shutters. It's not a city inn. I don't cook for a smile. I won't work to feel noble. I allow folks to lie down there for free. Oh, okay. Lie down there for free. She points to the bear fur with her broad chin, but that's about it. If your horse stays outside, it'll lure beasts to us, but if we move it in here, upstairs, it'll leave its droppings on my floor. She gets annoyed even by the idea of it happening. You want to rest here, love? Be ready to either pay with a coin or some food rations, or to spend the night keeping your mount quiet and clean it in the morning, will you? No, I've not slept yet. I would like to eat. She stretches out her arm and grabs a bowl. Give me a moment. You sit down at the clean table. After a moment, the keeper brings you roasted badger meat with mushroom sauce and a bowl of simple cabbage soup. It's already late, so you devour everything that's in front of you. Loggy mentions that you've already paid for another 3 meals. Yeah, it says it's nighttime, so it's technically sort of the next day. So if I sleep, what's it gonna do? I'll have to pay. Bear fur will be a fine sleeping spot, but your horse will disturb your rest. In the morning, you'll have to clean up after it. Sleeping here will be rather uncomfortable. Sleeping in the attic. You'll have plenty of space and many furs to choose from. The staff will help take care of your mount's filth. So I'll heal, gain more mana back, and this doesn't make too much difference in my current situation. I'll pay a coin, I guess. The monster shouts wake you up. Uh-oh. The night is bright, and from the window of the tavern you have a good look at the yard. A few massive dragonlings are exploring the courtyard, knocking over wooden tools with their tails, putting their noses in the buckets and underneath the stairs. You count 5 of them so far, but you can't see the entire area at once. One of them spots your look and moves closer. Still, it doesn't try to climb to the door. Maybe it's experienced enough to know it won't get through. Close the shutter slowly. Go back to sleep with the axe in my hand. Close the shutter slowly. Listening to the grunts of the annoyed Peabody makes you feel uneasy. You're at an inn in the morning. You could spend the entire day on resting. I just want to see what this does. It'll just heal me and I'll like fully recover. I see. Peabody makes you feel uneasy, but at least the furs covering the floor are helping you relax. You don't even notice when it's already morning. While the smell coming from the lower floor is not inviting, at least it's not you who has to take care of it. Boggy turns towards you and waits for you to speak. I guess I'll take advantage of my food I bought and get up to 3. Large mug of cold mint. I don't know what that is. Tisane. And a bit of stale scraps of roasted squirrel. Once you're done, packs the leftovers for you as a sack for the rest of the day and mentions that you've already paid for another 2 meals. I guess let's go. Approach the foragers. Once the man in black fur hears your steps, he nudges his companion and nods towards you. They put away the noose traps they were trying to fix, proper for hares and small birds. The tall one spreads his arms, thundering his loud welcome. A Roadwarden, I guess we're gonna see each other a lot. I'm Elon, and the shorty here is Zivy. The man in the black fur looks up, frowning. There's also the one-handed man you saw in the attic. Unlike the rest of the staff, he has an unkempt beard and worn clothes made from blue fabric, patched with scraps of flour sacks. He's looking down to examine a trap, but his shoulders are slumped. Eyes absent. Elon doesn't introduce him. Biddle, nice to meet you. Elon smiles. Were you at Pelton to the north yet, friend? He blushes. How's Dalit doing? I haven't been there yet. Ah, bummer. It's on the southern road. They're kind of travelers. These hunters wanted to buy hard drinks and healing potions from us. The innkeep is their boss. But just wait before you meet Dalit. She played dice with us for a good hour and knows all sorts of tales about monsters. And her smile. Must be really bored, that one. His smile turns to a grin. Better say hi to her for us. Zivy, I don't know how you pronounce this, but I'm calling it Zivy, adjusts his black cloak. Our traps won't fix themselves. What brings you to us? Alon frowns at this interruption, but says nothing. Oh yeah, there's the guy who they cut off his hand. Wonder if that's that guy. Turn to the world without a hand. Do you know Tulia? Man gives you a surprised glance, then looks down and crosses his arms, holding his hand under his shoulder. I'm a new man now. There's nothing that ties me to the army. He has the accent of the city folk, same as yours. You've crossed a great part of this land, greater than most. Have you seen anything unusual? He takes a deep breath. His voice is close to a whisper. There's fog in my soul. I was on the eastern road, hungry and sick, praying for the right to send its beasts on me and save me from the pains of living. I remember the touch of fur and the breath on my neck, the claws pinning me to the ground. I was waiting with my eyes closed. Then I woke up in the middle of night, still feeling. I got back on my feet, walked until I reached the lights of this tavern without so much as a bruise. Foggy may have no faith in her art, but the right used her kindness to give me a second chance. Alan frowns at the man's words, and there's cautiousness in his voice. He may be crazy, but it's true he came here after midnight, raving. Maybe the monsters don't like his scent. So you forgot everything. He hides his stump in the palm of his hand and curls up. I've seen a dragon eating a tree, an ape that tore away the head of a monstrous cat, and a wolf without fur that was as quick as lightning. Now leave me alone, evil spirit. Let my shame rest. He's shaking. Let him be, aye, Zivy grunts at you. Nothing wrong about a man trying to forget. Lon rubs his chin. Furless wolf, friend? I've heard about one. Our tribesfolk saw it in the heart of the woods. A nasty beast. Let's hope it won't find a mate for breeding. It charges at you like a runner and jumps right at your throat. He touches his neck, so even the hunters stay away from it. Too bad we've no crossbows. He raises his wooden club. I better to avoid the deep woods without one. What's your plan? I could use some work. Livy nods and Alon's voice gets even louder. Glad to hear that. We're planning to do some bird catching, a hunt without killing. Maybe not today, but in 8 days, maybe a bit later. What do you say? Why would you need my help with birds? Don't you just let them walk into traps? Len glances at the cords for snares. These won't do. We want to catch a runner this big. He raises his muscular arm and stops it at maybe a foot above his head. And bring it here, alive. We want its meat for later. The man with one hand interrupts him. His voice is weak but disdainful. Beasts ought to be dealt with, not tamed. Bonding with monsters only brings death. We'll bring us full bellies in winter, squawks Zivy. How much do you pay? I mean, it may be a scary trip, but it won't take that long. Alon shrugs. Just show up here at noon or before it. We'll be back in a few hours. We'll get 5 dragons, 2 if the bird dies. That's a good price for one afternoon, eh? I can't leave my horse behind. Well, I wouldn't worry about it. Alon waves his hand just like his mother. The idiot will take care of it. The one-handed man starts to object, but a harsh shut up from Zivy makes him sigh. His shoulders sag. Alon goes on. He's a loony. And would stumble over his own feet on a trip. But does what he needs when he's told to. And you know he won't steal it. He hates animals. Also, the rats are back. What's your plan exactly? Lon grabs a rope and shakes it in front of you. We'll catch its neck. Your part would to keep it from running. Don't hurt it, just make it busy enough for us to surround it. I feel like I could use better equipment. Well, you wouldn't need weapons for it, friend, but you may look for something worthwhile in Howler's den. Lon points west. Akakios. All about trade, not much for idle talk, but sells things for all his folks. This sounds real dangerous. That's why we want you to do the rough part. As if he smirks, we're just foragers. A Roadwarden knows how to fight, aye? At least it's on its own without its flock. What are you going to do with the catch? We'll tether it to the palisade for a day or two, then take it to creeks. Our tribesfolk have enough space to look after it through autumn. Maybe it'll drop a few eggs. Even if not, it's fresh food. The problem with supplies and creeks? They exchange looks. Maybe, admits Civvy. But not big enough to make us pay you more. In 8 days. So like day 9, 10, day 10. Interesting. Sorry, I'm distracted with people sending me messages and stuff. Fine. I'll be back in 8 days or soon after that. Lon grins. Do so. We still need to prepare. And you better do so as well, but don't make us wait for long. Let's not test the bird's patience. Just come one day before afternoon. Do you often have travelers here? Lon's voice is like thunder. Oh. Denny. Hello, hello. Thank you for the raid. How was your stream? Deadly Premonition. Never played those games, but I've always heard about them. Sounds good. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for the raid. We've been playing this Roadwarden game, which is a lot of text, a lot of reading, but it's got like some really interesting world building and stuff. I've been enjoying it. Alon's voice is like thunder. Now, you may very well be the last one this season. Sometimes a group of adventurers, who knows why, and southern traders in spring and autumn. Most of the visitors are from the villages, usually creeks and Gale Rocks. They leave goods at our place or just outside, and my ma barters in their name with the others. I mean, rocks, timbers, furs, and barreled fish can wait a few days. You tell me about the peninsula. Daily Premonition is good with the buggy on PC. It kept crashing. Dang, that's too bad. Zivy lets out a sigh. Not much to see here, trees, rocks, ponds. I've never been in Howlers, he starts, but then Alon chips in. I have a couple times. Nice place, kind folks, lots of grain. But one trader, Akakios, he pays poorly, but at least he doesn't waste one's time. Gets straight to the point. See, he thinks for a bit. And they're also tall, twice as tall as he is. He points to Zivy, who frowns and squeaks back at him. Bullshit. You gossip for the next few minutes, but the things they share with you are of little use. They end up saying that you should talk with Foggy instead. She used to travel a lot and speaks with every visitor. Can I wash myself here safely? Apparently not. It's like I need to clean myself. But it's just like every little place is just filled with monsters. You enter the bridge and move to its edge. Somewhere below you, you notice a glimmer. Hey, you! Step back! Run! Without even thinking, you leap toward the yard. A long, teeth-filled mouth breaks through the water surface, splashing it in every direction. It bites the empty place where you were just standing, while the front limbs, thick-scaled and ending with claws as long as your fingers, land in the wood. Once the saurian's yellow eyes notice you're outside of its reach, it nonchalantly slides into the lake. You hear laughter coming from the yard. Lon was running with help, but now stands with hands on his thighs, cackling without rest. I assume that's Zivy on the other stand, looks at you with worry. You see a hand kept beneath his cloak as if he was reaching for something. What are you doing? The lake isn't for outsiders. I gasped for air and thanked him for the warning. I'll stay away, don't you worry. He nods and gestures for his companion to cut it. They both move toward the gate. Well, I guess I'll travel. Could I go back to the statue and clear it just to see what's there? I guess. Or I could maybe look at this stream. The brook would hardly cover your feet, but you sit in the pebbles and splash yourself with water. I wash my hands, face, and neck. Oh, okay, that worked. Quenches its thirst and looks for intruders. About half an hour, I mean, sure. Use my axe to cut down the bushes and twigs. You tether Peabody to the tree, letting it choose between drinking, grazing, and napping. Repair your equipment, keeping an eye on the bush where you saw the rabbit's last moments. You use your weight to move the plants to one side, then cut right above the ground. The stems are healthy and flexible, so getting through them is rough, but you have enough strength to deal with them in a couple of minutes, then throw them into the lake. The work goes on for a bit, but once you're done, the statue stands in its former glory. A couple of old offerings are still on the pedestal: polished rocks, bone figurines, and moldy bowls and plates that used to store food. In one vessel, you see a dragon bone. It's dark and could be older than a generation. It would surely be accepted by any merchant. Coin was left here for a good reason. I should leave it behind. I don't think I want to touch it, but I feel like maybe if clearing it would be good luck, if nothing else. Or I could even make an offering. How much money and stuff do I have again? 3 coins, 2 rations. I mean, heck, put a coin. I'm sure I'll need money, but I'm superstitious. You open your pouch and place a dragon bone on the cold stone. There's no sign of the wanderer's gratefulness. She doesn't bow, nod, nor smile. Not a single beautiful bird sits down. I think that's supposed to say sits down on her head. No squirrels show up on the tree. After a minute or so, you turn to your mount feeling tranquil and prepared. Could I keep cleaning myself? No. Okay. I could go back to this cabin, but I'm not sure if I'd have to, if I'd run into the, what are they called? The wolves again? Let me save. I haven't saved in a while. I guess I'll save over this one. I don't want to, like, save scum necessarily, but if I, like, do something stupid and get killed, I don't want to have to start over or lose tons of progress, you know? Chirping of insects is rarely interrupted by a cackle of a distant bird, and just as often by the thunderous roar of the woodland beasts. The only tracks in sight belong to small critters. The cabin has no window, but a stubborn beast could easily burst in through the old thatch. The gust of wind doesn't move the door. Curious ibex observes you from the crag, but flees from your gaze. Check the cabin. You tether Peabody to a supporting beam. Its curious eyes are tracking the crickets that jump among the grass blades. You stretch your limbs, adjust your armor, and reach for the axe. Let's eavesdrop first. You sneak... Oh! You sneak toward the door and crouch down. After maybe a minute, a quiet rattle comes from the inside. It's something similar to the sound of cracking knuckles. You peek inside and just barely see a small part of the dusty room. A large spider web is spread among the knocked-down furniture. I'd only have one pneuma left if... Oh, shoot. Don't do that. If I use this, I'm going to risk the axe. Oh, shit. The spider looks at you from the center of the web. Its shell is larger than your head, and the thin legs are longer than your arms. Its countless hair blends in with the walls. They're brown, gray, and cream. What do you do? Oh. I mean, can I axe? Whack it with my axe? You rush forward and the spider skitters off, shaking the entire web. You fail to avoid its spit. The sticky ooze hits your eyes, covering them like glued cloth. Oh my god. Swing the axe. I hit myself. You cut the air at knee height, but some other creature reaches your side, or maybe it gets me, I don't know. Your calf gets pierced by a spear-sharp leg. Your heart beats faster, yet you keep control over your limbs and remain standing. The next swing lands. The sack of flesh smacks the floor and clicks in agony. You hear only your own heart and the chirping of the insects outside. You're getting sweaty. Your eyelids can't even blink. You drop the axe to the floor and sit on the threshold blindly. Move it gently, bit by bit. Saliva clings tightly to your skin, but stretching it with your fingers helps. The eyelids are the worst part, but you're grateful for your reflexes. At least you still have eyes. You get to see the light slowly, then shapes. The thing turns out to be gray and white. You stand up and look around. The room is covered with a thick layer of dust. Getting through the web could be risky. A single thread won't stop you, but a bunch of them could grapple you for good. Huh. I don't know, let's collect the web. Gather a spool of spider silk. You bring a twig from the outside and use it as a spool. You don't have much practice, and wearing the gloves makes the necessary gestures even more awkward. From time to time, the silk breaks, but it shouldn't be a problem for a tailor. It's a material for stitching, and wouldn't be turned into cloth anyway. You notice maybe a dozen defenseless spiderlings. They flee towards the exit with their speed limited by their tiny legs. They're smaller than a finger. Trample them. On their death, they make a squish. Search the building. 2 corals. The chest hides a few old water skins and inedible stale rations. Among them, however, you find 2 corals for a crossbow. The bones have no obvious owner, but judging by their age and the lack of a skull or human-like hands, you doubt they could be awoken by the fogs. The boots, rugged pants, an old sticky tunic, and other scraps are cheap and hide no jewelry. The bowls and mugs are empty. Drag the spider carcass away and throw it in the forest. Put on your thick gloves and grab 4 spider legs at once. The corpse isn't heavy, so you drag it behind you. You reach the bushes at the side of the road, then lift the entire creature. The more you shake it, the more distracting the twitches of its legs get. You send it into a tree trunk. It sinks into the thicket, causing a bit of a rustle among the dwellers. I guess that's it. I got hurt, but I found some orals. If I do get a crossbow, I guess that's going to be useful. All right. Was there anything in the foraging grounds? I don't think I ran through there, so I didn't have time to even look. The valley is flanked by the hills. Only in the west, the grasses and bushes blend into the horizon and turn into another part of the forest. The southern hills are gray and tall, with fortress-like rock faces and a crown of conifers. The northern ones have countless sand-colored rocks, lumped together like piles of rubble and clay, bearing hardly any soil or weeds. The plants here are struggling. The grass is short and yellowish, sometimes dried out. The bushes have silver leaves, like many plants from sunny areas. The mushrooms can't hide in the shadows, but as you approach one, you see it's growing from the remains of a dead bird, while others are covering old branches and other plants. They won't last much longer. It will be easy to spot any large beasts around. You have to squint to spot the first threatening creature. A runner is in the far east, close to the hills, though it completely ignores you. Walking around and observing the grass, looking for its next prey. You don't have to worry about it for now. There are boot prints in the road as well as in the short grass, fresher than in any part of the eastern road, since many mushrooms were cut away with a knife. And you notice a few berries on the shrubs. You conclude it's for a foraging spot for people from the north, but there doesn't seem to be much food left. There's almost no prints leading further south. I could try to forage for a bit. You let Peabody keep itself busy while you walk around looking for anything edible. It takes a fair bit of time. You don't carry around raw mushrooms and bugs. You don't plan to carry around raw mushrooms and bugs, and the wild vegetables need to be washed before you put them in your bags. You finally find a few handfuls of plants, fruits, and nuts. Next time, however, it's not going to be so easy, especially since the runner, a bird both taller and wider than you, observes you carefully, at first from a distance, then encircling around you. After about half an hour, you hear its piercing screech. As the creature runs at you, shaking a beak larger than your head, you throw everything into a sack and get in the saddle. So that's the thing they want to capture. Okay, well, I'm trying to remember. I think I want to just head straight west. If I want to get to the town. So let's try that. You're squeezed between the hills and the forests. The only larger beast you spot is a single saurian basking on a boulder, lazily observing you from a safe distance. Your ears catch the howls coming from the north, long and loud, while you look at the lake, hoping there's no threat hiding below the water surface. The few plants growing next to the road mostly bear fruit. The road is not as reliable here as it was on the eastern bank. Parts of it are a bit muddy, and the puddles disturb your ride. Maybe the locals will maintain it before it gets swallowed by the lake. Your lively surroundings are filled with the chirping of crickets, the flapping wings of dragonflies, and the occasional quacks and splashes of ducks. Still, the sounds that strike you the harshest are the deep, loud yells of howlers, which spark an image of the painful shout of an undead, a cracking tree, or the battle cry of a nightmarish spirit. They're sitting on branches and in the tall grass, not really trying to hide. Their thick black and gold furs cover their entire shells. Aside from the charcoal black faces with roundish flat noses and wide nostrils, the younger members of the pack are about the size of your mount's head. But the larger ones would be chest high if it wasn't for the fact they walk on all fours. The long tails are like an additional arm, helping them climb, hang from the branches, or hold food while they eat. They aren't particularly muscular, but when they form their pink lips into the shape of a cup to release their howls, their mouths are so wide they could fit your entire arm inside. As you listen to the shouts, you're reaching for your head. You feel a weird itch, but somehow you can't touch it. Keeping my distance, I take a look at the skin behind the boulder. The whitish rawhide covers the grass like a blanket, surrounded by paw prints. The howlers don't wait for you to approach it. One of the larger ones jumps on the ground, leaning on its hands and challenging you with its gaze. It has rather blunt teeth. Too bad I have nothing to plug my ears with. Huh. Just grab it and go. Pick up the old rawhide. You stretch out your legs and then dash ahead. At first, the monkeys move away with a few unconvinced yells, but then those from above start to howl even deeper than before, and you feel as if your guts are starting to move, hitting against each other. You get dizzy, and soon the pain enters your skull, as if you're getting hit by a smith's hammer time and time again. You manage to stay calm, focused on your goal. The creatures try to cut your path, but being on the ground, they can't keep up with your legs. Without stopping, you grab the rawhide, then carry on, waiting for a few heartbeats before you change direction rapidly. Now getting closer to Peabody. By the time you reach the saddle, the beasts have already abandoned their pursuit. You take a few deep breaths, then inspect the rawhide. The wet, torn blanket is now worth as much as a bread crust. Still, it's not rotten. The owners around, they may recognize it. So it's not even really worth much of anything. Sure. Let's just keep going. You leave the lake behind. The pebbled road runs through the hillside with tall grasses and rock faces above you and dark, lush forest below. Chunks of this path were shaped by human tools. Who knows how many centuries ago? To widen it, the builders dug through the uneven boulders and used rocks and logs to fill the cavities with thousands of rocks, each one smaller than your fist. While you have a good view of what's happening between the trees on your left, the bushes and shrubs grow so densely between them that you can't imagine entering these woods on your own. Farther south, there are plumes of smoke. Settlement, most likely.